Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 51 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. On this week's episode, we've got a couple of letters. I need to tell you about a new Facebook group that is started up. And finally, and most importantly, we have an interview. And the interview this week is with none other than the Bubble Meister himself, Chris Cullen from Catie's Bubbles. Hopefully, you will enjoy the interview. I know I did. It was a great time to get Mr. Cullen away from the bubble machine for a little bit of time so he could sit down and talk to us about a number of different subjects. I enjoyed it. I think he did too. Hopefully, you'll join in the fun. The first letter I got was a letter from Jeremy. He writes, "Just wanted to tell you that I love your podcast. I listen every week, and on the last episode, I heard you talking about the Schick Injector Type J that you didn't care for. And I have to agree, but you do owe it to yourself to pick up an adjustable injector. I have one from the later years of its production and love it. It's my go-to razor when I'm in a hurry. Set it around 5 and never a bad shave. I also wanted to say that as a younger-ish guy, 26, I understand why my generation doesn't want to change from the goop in a can and a 5-blade razor. They don't care about looking well-groomed. Too much trouble and takes too long. It seems like our society doesn't look at being well-groomed as they used to. Wild, ungroomed beards are in style, along with laziness, and to me, it makes you look like you don't care about yourself, or anything else for that matter. It's amazing how much better people treat you and look at you when you are well-groomed. And it seems as not only by the older generation, at least in my career field, it seems I command more respect with my peers based on my appearance. Younger people don't care, and I think it's a reflection on the way our society is headed. But anyway, that's my little rant on that, and would love to hear your comments. Well, Jeremy, sad to say, but I can't disagree with you. First off, being well-groomed is a sign of respect for both yourselves and others, even if you have a beard. If it is well-trimmed and taken care of, and it looks like you've put some effort into, looking reasonably well-groomed, people notice that. It's not to say that beards are bad or beards are, something that should be avoided. It's more about the fact, do you take the time to take care of yourself out of respect for yourself, and therefore do you have the potential to respect other people? And if you have that, and if you notice, you'll be able to pick people up, and you'll look at them and say, he respects himself. I could get to know him. I could I could have a companionship or a friendly relationship or something like that with this individual, and a lot of it is based on our impressions that really occur within the first 20 seconds of seeing someone. It's very, very fast that we form that impression. So you're absolutely right. Now I did write him back and ask him kind of where he was from, just kind of get a feel for it, and he's because I had a theory proved wrong, but anyhow, it was a great rant, and I think you may be onto something. If you look at the movie stars and things like that, they all have kind of the scraggly beard-looking thing going on, and that has become popular. And I think laziness is something that is a persona that is created, if you will, by the lack of personal grooming. So, anyhow, that's kind of my feel on that, because it's kind of like, I don't have time to shave in the morning. Well, yeah, you do. It's just you have to take the time. So maybe it is laziness. But anyhow, Jeremy, thank you very much for the letter. Now, I also got a letter from Mark, and Mark writes, "A few months ago, I had stopped into my local oil company to pay a bill. The owner was there to take my check, and I noticed an old barber chair and some antiques in a side room, and I asked him why he was storing them there. He had bought out a local junk dealer and was hoping to open a little curiosity shop next to his fuel oil service. I told him how I had returned to traditional wet shaving, and he soon emerged with a gift for me. It is a 1973 Schick Stick injector razor. I guess it was to appeal to men's love of cars. Now, if you've never seen a Schick Stick, on the end of the handle is a ball, a black ball, and on that black ball at the bottom side of it, there is a stick shift pattern, and they sold it as the Schick Stick. So kind of like a stick shift. So he continues, I know from your podcast there are websites that I can buy blades for this, but I went to the sites of 2 local drugstore chains and both stated they sold Schick injector blades. So I went to visit both stores, and I got some responses that I'm still trying to figure out. When I couldn't find injector blades on the shelves, I asked one manager if they sell them in this store. He said, not anymore. They don't sell too well, and I'm tired of reordering them. I told the guy I didn't understand. If they aren't selling, why do you need to reorder them? He said, well, some people still use those razors, so I would order them, and in no time they were gone, so I'd have to place another order. So I gave up on that. Get it? Let me tell you, I nodded my head, but I didn't have a clue. So I went into the other store and again saw the place on the shelf for them, but the rack was empty. I asked someone in the health and beauty department, and she said, everybody keeps asking for them, but we don't stock them because there's no demand for them. This reminded me of when they asked Yogi Berra what he thought of a certain restaurant, and he said, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Finally, I got the real story. Gone are the days when the owner of a store takes an inventory of his items and reorders the stock himself. Name brand merchandise has a distributor who takes an inventory and restocks what is needed. Stores sell their own items and keep stock of small market items, but those are restocked as needed. That's why you will see double-edged blades often sold under the name of the store. Therefore, the stock people don't have to worry about Gillette Fusion razors or Schick Quattro, but when they run out of double-edged blades, it's a pain in the neck to order them. Well, I'm going to make a bumper sticker and a t-shirt that says, the double-edged razor lives, and I still use a Schick injector razor. Hopefully the day will come when people will have to special order cans of goo and multi-bladed scratch sticks. So for now, I will reorder them off the internet. Love the podcast, Mark. Well, thank you, Mark. He also included some pictures of the Schick stick to show the stick shift knob on the bottom of his injector razor, which is kind of cute. Anyhow, it's an interesting story that they sell out. People are always asking for them, so they stopped ordering them. So I wonder if it was under like a distributor with Gillette or something like that, and they would rather have people buying the Fusion razors. So get rid of the cheap ones. We'll buy you out or whatever. And it's just that was a curious letter. I mean, I would have scratched my head too as I was talking to these folks in the store. But it does kind of give you an idea of what we're dealing with. Wow. Anyhow, thank you very much for the letter. So there's a new Facebook group called Wet Shaving Videos, and the Wet Shaving Videos Facebook group was started with 3 rules. Only shaving-related videos may be posted. You can comment on them. Be kind to fellow members, and the administrators have the final say on matters of content and or disputes. Okay, pretty straightforward. So essentially what this is a repository of shave-related videos, whether they be demonstration videos, reviews, or anything like that. It is a repository on the Facebook group, so that it's basically a one-stop shop area for all your shave-related videos. So people have posted videos from, all over the place to put up there. So there's a lot of links to really, really good content. So go check it out, Wet Shaving Videos. Ask to be a member, and we'll get you all in there. Right now there's about 200 members in there, and we're working at building it as fast as we can. So join the fun over there on Facebook. Everybody there is having a good time. All right, so I am here with the Bubble Master from Catie's Bubbles, Mr. Chris Cullen himself. He has agreed to step out of the bubble shop for just a brief moment and talk to us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Hey, not a problem. Thanks for being here. I mean, you are busy as of late. I mean, you've got. I was looking at your blog a little bit. You've got new scents coming out. You're supplying Maggard's razor. You're sold out in a few things there as well, which is really kind of neat.
I've got a big. I shouldn't say a big box. I've got 4 or 5 big boxes going out to them tomorrow. So those sold out signs will be disappearing.
Excellent news. Excellent news. But I'm sure, like you said on your blog, you're real happy to be kind of spreading out and getting your products out there where people can get them, not just on your site, but on a couple of different places.
My products have become a bit popular in Europe as well. And the time it takes to go through customs forms and things of that nature really fills up a good chunk of an afternoon. So having somebody over there to be able to just send one big box off to and have them spread the love will definitely be nice.
Excellent.
Something that's still in negotiations, but I'm hoping I'm going to keep any details on the back end about that quiet. About who it's going to be and what's going on there, what they're going to be picking up. But it will definitely be nice and definitely take a nice bit of workload off to have somebody over there to just send a big box of product to and let them divvy it up and send it individually to different areas in Europe instead of me spending all afternoon filling out customs forms.
Excellent. So you're becoming very popular in the Europe arena.
Believe it or not, a lot of them spend some time on Badger and Blade, and thanks to a couple of fine gentlemen, they've done a good job of spreading some word about me on there.
Excellent.
It's not a forum that I participate in. But I've been given updates by a couple of gentlemen that are customers of mine, telling me that they started a thread and it's now got over 6,000 views. And
oh my gosh!
I think it's creeping up on 10 pages.
Wow, that's great. That is absolutely fabulous. Okay, so here's a question for you. Obviously, you're doing a bang-up job, as they say over there, in making soaps and making great products. But how did you get into this? I mean, when you were a young teenager, did you kind of sit there and go, I really like soaps. I think I'm going to do this one day.
No, but as a young teenager, I had a great chemistry professor.
Ah, excellent.
And she really instilled a love of chemistry into me.
Okay.
And a few years back, a little bit of backstory for you here. Catie's my daughter. She has a little brother named Christopher.
Okay.
Christopher's autistic. We were doing a fundraiser for Autism Speaks, and I will refer to her as Mrs. Bubbles, asked me to go onto the internet and find jigsaw puzzle piece molds that were made out of silicone.
Okay.
To be able to melt crayons in to sell at a fundraiser to make some extra money for Autism Speaks.
Right. That's an excellent idea.
Well, when I was going out and I finally found the molds we were looking for, it said they could be used to make soap. Some little switch in the back of my brain flipped. Started doing a little bit of research, found out about cold processed soap, made my first batch of simple bars, eventually took those puzzle piece molds and made little blue puzzle pieces that we sold at a different Autism Speaks fundraiser. There, it became an expensive hobby.
That's really a neat idea. So the beginnings of Catie's Bubbles was a charity event.
Correct.
Absolutely fantastic. That's a great story. Okay, so once you figured out that you could make soaps with these silicone forms, at what point did you realize that this was what you were meant to do?
Is it what I'm meant to do? That's always a good question. It's something I enjoy doing.
Okay.
Um, I I love getting in there, love mixing up new fragrances, love testing out different products. So if it's ultimately what I'm meant to do, I'll find out in the future. But for now, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay, so is this a part-time business? Is this a hobby? Well, obviously it's not a hobby. You know, you're going gangbusters, so at this point to call it a hobby is a little silly. Um,
Time I spend on it, I don't think that you could call it part time, because it definitely I give up sleep to be able to make soap for people. I won't play with lyes or hot oils while the kids are awake.
mhm.
But once the kids are in bed shortly after 8 p.m. every night, don't get to bed till 4:30 in the morning, and Mrs. Bubbles wakes me up around 9 a.m. when she's getting ready to leave for work.
Wow.
So I go on about 4.5 hours of sleep every night, just so that I can keep the soap coming out.
Wow. That's dedication, and we appreciate that for sure. Yeah, you know, as you know, I've used some of your products, and I thought the soap was absolutely fantastic. It really was. I thought that you know, for the soap itself, you've got an absolute winner there.
The soap base itself is really the hard part to nail up front, and then from there it's finding a fragrance that somebody enjoys. You picked up two soaps. One got a meh response on, the other you loved. So
Absolutely.
I had a 50-50 chance there.
Absolutely, and you know that's no fault of yours. I quite honestly, I bought into what some of my shaving brethren were saying, and you know with good reason, because they absolutely adore it. You know, the flames and pitchforks were flailing. So you know you have a fan base that is absolutely dedicated, and you should be very happy to know that.
There's a great group of guys out there, and I'll give a shout out to the guys on Razor and Brush. There's another great group of guys on the Wet Shaver Review on Facebook, as well as many other groups out there. And I've got the pleasure of interacting with these guys on a daily basis. I'm there for them anytime they want to ask me a question. I may not be the quickest with a response if I'm in the middle of chasing a dog across the house because he's teasing one of the kids, or hearing about how Christopher's torturing Catie at that moment. But I'll always get back to them and give them the best response that my brain can come up with.
Well, I would just like to say that you are probably one of the quickest people to respond that I've interacted with in a long time. It always seems that any time that I throw something out there, whether it's, you know, a question or just a comment, you're always on social media willing to jump in and say, and, you know, pipe in and say something. I mean, it's really fantastic. And it really shows the amount of dedication, I think, that you have to what you're doing.
Well, my tablet's always with me no matter where I'm at, and the notifications are set properly. So if somebody tags my name in something in one of those groups, it winds up buzzing on my side, and I'll see what's going on if my hands are free at the moment.
Excellent. So on the soaps, you have two kinds that for shaving soaps, because you do have a bar soap as well. But you have two kinds. You have French and Italian. One's a soft soap, one's a harder soap, if I understand correctly. Which one came first?
The Italian came first.
Okay.
Shaving soap, from a traditional soap making standpoint, is kind of the silver bullet you're searching for.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of information out there to tell you what you need to do, how you need to go about it. And by doing some research and finding what companies were doing, you take a look at an ingredients list for Tobbs or D.R. Harris's creams, rely primarily on stearic acid and myristic acid as the basis of their product.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is stearic acid gives you that creaminess, that stable lather that you want in the shaving soap. The myristic acid, which also acts very much like lauric acid, makes it easier to lather. Gives it a little bit of volume, lets it puff up, makes it not be quite so dense. So after doing a little bit of research and kind of narrowing it and seeing what others were doing and what they were successful with, I was able to actually see that by focusing on components of the oils, not the oils itself, but what made the oils, I could then take that and translate it into a product. And the first product I came up with was the Italian style, which has changed since because I wanted to extend its shelf life a little bit longer.
Okay.
Butters are great sources of stearic acid. Stearic acid itself is one of your main components because this way you don't have to deal with any of the other fluff that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And whether you need something in there, as I said, to give it volume, to make it a little bit lighter, so this way it's just not this dense, creamy paste.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be a little bit lighter, a little bit easier for the blade to move across. And I originally started working with palm kernel oil in the Italian recipe, which has both the lauric and the myristic.
Mm-hmm.
When I finally came out with the French, I went to coconut oil.
Okay.
Because it's got a much better skin property to it.
Gotcha. Well, from my experience, the only ones that I tried were the French style, and the skin feel after the shave was really, really nice. It was smooth. It was, you had a very moisturizing feel to it. So you've definitely hit a home run there.
The other big difference between the two, the French style, the Italian style, French soaps are traditionally prepared at a higher temperature.
Okay.
On average, you're looking at working very close to the boiling point of water.
Okay.
And being that you have to have water involved in the process because you need something, you need a solution to suspend the lye in.
Right.
Otherwise, you just throw them in the oils and nothing happens, and you're going to wind up hurting somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very tricky. It can be a little dangerous at times because of how hot you're working. But the other reason why the Italian is different is because I do work at a lower temperature, because if I were to work at the temperatures I worked at with doing the French style,
mm-hmm.
I'd wind up scalding the cocoa butter. I'd wind up scalding the mango butter, and it would smell off from burnt oils.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. And, I have looked into, just briefly, like the making of lye soap, from back in the olden days, because I'm kind of interested in that stuff. But I've never really thought.
No different than what we do for this. It's just a different ingredient set.
Gotcha.
Instead of using lard, we're using an oil setup that's designed to produce the product we want.
Okay.
But in terms of mixing lye and fat, that's all we're doing.
I got you. Okay. So all right. So you have the Italian. You've got the French. You have these very wonderful names of your soap. And they're in French. Why did you decide to do that? Because, for an American market, a lot of people don't know what that means.
I did it solely to annoy Chris Bailey. Because I knew he couldn't pronounce them. That's why I keep coming out with them. Actually, the first one that came out like that was Le Pimento Levé. LPV, okay. I guess you could call it my flagship soap. I sell 4 or 5 times more of that than I do any other soap in my lineup.
Excellent, and it it has a great smell, and if you want something that has a spicy aroma to it, I mean that is definitely the soap to get. And Chris, if you're listening, be it known that the gentleman who is talking about annoying you is also sitting here wearing a Saints hat
and a Saints shirt.
Oh, look at that! Okay.
No, it started digging at him, so I kind of kept him going.
Uh-huh.
LPV started. I had worked with a friend of mine who runs a fragrancing co-op.
Okay.
And we worked with one of her fragrance houses, and we wound up picking up LPV. It really took off, and I had to come up with a name for it. And being that it had that spiciness to it, the first thing that popped in my head was the spice of life. I took it, I ran it through Google Translate, and the rest is history.
Excellent. Yeah, and people give him a hard time for not being able to pronounce the French. I know Tom Brim gave him a hard time about some of that the other day that I noticed. It was just kind of funny.
Yeah, well, on plenty of his videos, he gives me a hard time about making soaps he can't pronounce. So.
So, aside from LPV, your flagship, Le Piment de Vie, can you describe some of your other scents and potentially how you came up with them?
Believe it or not, a lot of my scents, I'm given ideas by the guys.
Okay.
The one that you really enjoyed, Jardin Dior.
Mm-hmm.
There was a gentleman named Adam McLaughlin and another gentleman named Brian Sharp. They tag teamed me. Within minutes of each other, they both came at me and said, I needed to make something that was the sweetness of honeysuckle, but it was floating on top of an earthy oak moss base. So I took that and I got the floral of the honeysuckle. I got a little bit of the nectar in there. I've got the oak moss, but it wasn't quite right. I added a little patchouli, and I'm very happy with where it wound up. And the name just came to me that it was the Golden Garden.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, that was to me that fragrance is an absolute hit. So the guys that suggested that, at least in my opinion, were absolutely dead on.
Spanish Holiday.
Okay.
There's another gentleman in one of the Facebook groups. His name's Tom Moore. Tom used to take vacations to Spain when he was younger, hence the name Spanish Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Latoya makes a product out there that's called Magno. It's a sweet Spanish cologne type scent, and just smelling that reminds him of when he was younger taking these trips. So Spanish Holiday is a close approximation to what that smells like.
Okay.
And that's how I came up with that one. Trying to think what else is in the French line that really has a decent story to it.
How about knee high to a grape?
Oh, come on. All of us have stories of barbecues when we were kids that we would be begging our parents for a grape soda out of the cooler. I was on one of those days where it was hot outside, and I was outside with Catie, and we shared a grape soda, and I said, you know what, this would make a nice shave soap. So knee high to a grape is a tribute to the old grape knee high.
Okay. All right. Excellent. How about the Green Earth?
The Green Earth, it seemed everybody a few months back was on a big fougere kick.
Okay.
I didn't want to do something typical.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to have these fancy floral top notes and all this going on. And I came up with a very, very simple scent, but I didn't want it to be over the top and overdone. I wanted it simple, clean, and fresh. So it's earthy, it's green, it's the Green Earth, let's head over.
Very good. Very good. Okay. You already said that LPV is your flagship soap. Out of everything, I mean, that was probably the first one that sold out over at Maggard's, I'm thinking.
Sold out at Maggard's more than once already.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah, so it definitely is a flagship for you. What would be, say, your second best-selling?
My second best-selling soap, other than the special product that I made for the Razor and Brush group,
Mm-hmm.
which sold out fairly quickly, is actually a soap I don't regularly stock.
Okay.
Something that I'll make a small batch of every now and then, because it can be a little bit controversial. It's a fougere, but one of the heart notes to it is that of a cannabis flower. So the soap's called Quattrocent Ving.
Okay.
And every time I make it, I'll put up a batch of 14 soaps or whatever, and they'll be gone in an hour.
Wow. Well, it's whether it's controversial or not, obviously that's a good seller for you.
You'll find if you look back over just the past week, there's one gentleman that bounces between quite a few of the groups. I want to say his shave of the day had it in there 3 or 4 times. Do a search for Paul Robles, and you'll come across that very quickly. And every time he uses it, he will flat out say that it is the best scent he has ever smelled in a shaving soap.
Wow. Wow. So are there plans to make it on more than just a limited basis?
We'll see. I don't want to be known as the guy that makes the cannabis soap.
I understand that,
which
yeah.
is why I've kept it at a batch here and a batch there. But the demand definitely seems to be there for it. I don't know if it's that we're all a bunch of old hippies, or if it's really that it smells that good. And I thoroughly enjoy it because it's not just that scent. There are so many other notes to it. It's a fougere. It's got that crisp green ferny note to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got various woods and florals wrapped through it as well. And it is a glorious scent. But it's one of those things that just because of what that heart note is, I've kind of played it safe with it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That's probably a very good thing to do on your part. Is there like a sign-up list or something? This, because if it's selling out that quickly and you're making it that infrequently, I mean, you should consider maybe having a sign-up list.
First come, first serve. When I put it up there, whoever clicks to buy it gets it.
Well, yeah.
I will when it's coming up. I will drop a couple of hints. And whenever I do a big inventory refresh, it's always on a Friday afternoon once I close shipping for the week.
Okay, excellent to know. Excellent to know. Yeah, I'll have to keep my eye on that, because that'd be one I'd be interested in for sure. Just out of curiosity, I mean, I don't know about you, but I have kind of been amazed at the number of soap makers that have seemed to have exploded into the shaving environment. So just from a soap maker's perspective, what's your feel of the market right now?
It's the golden age of shaving, as some other people have said it. There's options. There's something for everybody. Whoever's got their heart in the right place and is doing the right thing for the guys that are buying the product are going to be the ones that are going to be around a year from now.
Yeah, I would say. Now, the thing that's interesting to me is that it seems that there are so many people getting into this. They're coming in so quickly that it seems that for a lot of folks, there's so much demand out there, and it doesn't seem to be letting up. Is that your perception as well?
Well, thankfully, companies like Procter & Gamble are doing a good job of making it easy for us to convert people. Cost associated with just buying cartridges is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
You can, with what it costs to shave with a cartridge razor for 3 to 4 months, you've got a DE, a brush, and 2 to 3 nice soaps, and you're good for the next year.
That is true.
Whereas that's just 3 months worth of cartridges.
Yeah,
you're not buying any product or anything else on top of that.
Yeah, it is amazing when you look at the amount of marketing. And it's the thing that has always intrigued me is that for the plastic cartridge razors, there's not a lot in them. If you actually look at, okay, they've got a couple of different colors of injected plastic and a couple of pieces of steel in there, but for the most part, they're making money hand over fist.
Yeah, that's what's in there for them, profit.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said the other day, their biggest goal is to find something that they can patent and then profit off of it. And the amount of, to me, it's right at the edge, if not over the edge of being criminal, the amount of money they're asking us to pay for these cartridges versus what I think it costs them to actually make them.
Don't forget, we're also paying for all those pretty commercials, and every Target you go into out there, you're going to walk into the shaving aisle and see that little wheel spinning. They got to pay for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very similar to, in my mind, to Budweiser beer. Because if you there was a study that was done one time on Budweiser, and they said that the printing on the can, if I remember this correctly, the printing on the can was the second highest cost. The next highest was the can itself. The beverage, the liquid that they put in it was actually the cheapest, and the most expensive out of all of it was the marketing.
Look at a pair of basketball shoes.
Absolutely.
They're made in some sweatshop in the middle of Asia for $1 or $2 a pair. But a pair of Air Jordans costs $250.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an amazing job of marketing. So so anyhow, I just wanted to get from your perspective again what was the what the market was doing, because from my perspective it looks like we're blowing the lid off this thing because there are so many people that are enthused about it, and thankfully, if they have the opportunity to get a hold of one of your soaps, you will have, they will have an excellent experience. What I ran into the other day is, there's a lot of soap makers out there and that are making so-called shaving soaps, and I try one every now and then because you never know, you might find a diamond in the rough. But it was absolutely not good, and it just it kind of came to me that how many people, how many guys, women, whatever, buying for their men are getting this stuff. They think this is what it is. They try it. It turns out not to be good, not to be a great experience for them. And they say, okay, well, that's it. I'll go back to the foam in a can, and that's unfortunate. Whereas if somebody was to get a hold of your products, I can just about guarantee that that after the first experience, they'll go, wow, this is completely different. This is a phenomenal shaving experience. If this is what all the hype is about, I understand completely.
Unfortunately, there's a website or two out there that lists a shaving soap recipe, and I'll use the finger quotes for that one.
Okay.
That really is just a bar soap with clay added to it.
Yeah. It
takes a lot more than that to make a shaving soap.
Absolutely. They throw a little bit of bentonite in it and call it a day.
It doesn't work because their primary ingredient in that soap is olive oil.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys have learned, they also ask a lot of questions, but they've learned that check the label, look at the ingredients list, start to learn what to look for.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see stearic acid, you want to see tallow, you want to see shea butter, kokum butter, mango butter up at the top of the ingredients list.
Mm-hmm.
Olive oil is primarily oleic acid. That's just going to create an unstable lather, and you're not going to have a good experience. If olive oil is in your first 4 or 5 ingredients, because of the fact that olive oil is high in oleic acid, and when you take oleic acid and you turn it into soap, it creates very large unstable bubbles.
Absolutely.
Unstable lather, and you're not going to have a good time with it.
Yep, absolutely. And what I found, and that is absolutely a good description of what I ran into. As soon as this soap got any water in it at all, it would just foam. It would just foam into these huge bubbles. And the other thing is they had so much clay in it that it would dry. You know, I even had it. I was using it in the shower. I thought, okay, well maybe as a shower shaving soap, it would work okay. And even in the shower, in that humid environment, it would dry out on one side while I was shaving the other side.
Clay, especially bentonite, will absorb a lot of water. It'll also absorb a lot of oil.
Mm-hmm.
There are some soaps out there that do use clay. They're a good quality soap. But it's balanced so that it works properly and it doesn't overdo its job. You take an abundance of clay and slap it onto your face, it's literally going to extract the oil out of your face and make it feel dry.
Yeah. If you look at the market as a whole, okay, who's your competition? I mean, who are you competing against mainly?
My competition is the commercial product. I don't see the artisans as competitors.
Okay.
I feel that we have to work together in order to make a better experience for the gentlemen that use these kinds of products.
Yep.
2 of my best friends that in the soaping world also make shaving soap. I use their products on a regular basis. If somebody asks about them, I'll recommend them. I'll tell them what I like about them, what I don't like about them.
Mm-hmm.
Because by us getting somebody away from using a can of foam or getting away from spending money on a product made by AOS, where it's 90 to 95% profit, where they can get a larger volume of product and potentially a better quality product by purchasing from Soap Commander, by purchasing from Soapy Bathman, from Tiki Bar Soaps, from Ginger's Garden, from Cold River Soapworks, from me, from How to Grow a Mustache. We're going to win as a community.
Absolutely. And like I was telling, I think I was talking to Douglas over at How to Grow a Mustache. I am a firm believer right now with the demand that is out there that you guys are going to be in a situation here pretty soon. You're not going to be able to keep up.
Then I'm going to have to hire helpers. Right now, it's just me. Every once in a while, Mrs. Bubbles will help me when it comes to slapping some labels on jars. But when it comes to the chemistry end of it, she has no interest.
Yep. So that was another thing that I really liked. I like your jar size. I mean, it's very, very nicely put together. The labels are really nice on it. So that was actually a good surprise, I think, for me. They're good, sturdy containers. They'll be around for the length of the soap because goodness knows the amount of soap you put in there. That's going to last a while too, like you said. I mean, you're gonna easily get your money's worth.
I market it as 8 because I do it all by hand. There's no way for me to guarantee that it's exactly 8.1, 8.4 ounces in there, but most of them are close to 9 ounces of product.
Yep.
The Italian product, granted the jars are half full, but it's close to 5 ounces of product for the Italian product.
Okay.
But the jar size itself, it's plenty of space to be able to whip a brush around.
Yes.
Be able to load up, be able to hold a little bit of water to soften the top cap.
Mm-hmm.
This way you can load it. So it works well for form and function.
Yeah, so for your French soaps, so for the folks that have never used them before, what would be your suggestion for getting the best performance out of them?
The top of the soap wet, I personally prefer using a synthetic brush. If you're going to use a synthetic, take the brush dry, right to the soap. All you really need is 25, 30 seconds hot water on top of it. dry load the brush, and then take it and either face lather or bowl lather and add water as you go.
Okay.
The Italian style, it's a little bit firmer, a little bit more time with the hot water on there just to soften it up.
Okay. One of the things that I noticed is that your soaps, for me, because I'm mainly a bowl latherer, except when I use like a shave stick, and then of course you're kind of obligated to face lather. But I'm primarily a bowl lather, and one of the things that I enjoy looking at and discovering is how much water a soap is able to take. And one of the things that I noticed was that your soap did very, very well over a very nice wide range of water. I mean, I went from, probably about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons, maybe a teaspoon and a half to 2 teaspoons, and got an absolutely excellent lather. But it wasn't sensitive to the amount of water that I was putting into it. I mean, it was more than able to absorb that moisture and then, of course, transfer that moisture onto my face.
One thing I've found, I used to bowl lather. I don't know if it's that I've gotten lazy or if I just enjoy doing it this way because it gives me a little bit more control of seeing how the paste is forming. But I've gone to face lather.
Mm-hmm.
And starting off with that method I had mentioned with the synthetic brush and starting dry, as you slowly add water in, once it smooths out, you can actually stop there.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be a very dense, slick soap, but doesn't give you a lot of cushion.
Okay.
You add a little bit more water in, you get it to build up that volume.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that slickness, but the cushion adds in.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's something interesting. I might play with that a little bit just to experience it, coming from the expert. So, just out of curiosity, so far in your journey, I mean, how long have you been making these soaps?
Selling them, I want to say that I've only been selling since the shaving to the general public since February. Since
February. So, wow, that's you've got a huge following considering you've only been doing it since February. My goodness.
Catie's Bubbles has been established since 2012, but it started as a bar soap company.
Okay.
It was something for me to do on the side to be able to support my soap making addiction.
Yeah, for the shaving part, realizing that you were making bar soap before that, for the shaving soap part, what's been the hardest part for you?
For me, the name.
The name. That's been the hardest part?
I had to build the name recognition.
Okay.
To get over the hump of manly men not wanting to use a product named Catie's Bubbles.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Once you get the product into a couple people's hands, the word starts to spread, and if it's a good quality product and you're not a jerk, you sit back, do what you can, and hope that it rolls into a snowball.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, so the hardest part then was, like you said, getting people to accept the name, the branding of the product. So what's been the best part of your experience so far?
Being able to be home with my kids.
There you go.
I worked in retail management till the end of September last year. I was released from my position, if you want to say downsized or let go or whatever. And I said, you know what? I don't want to go back to work for another corporation that doesn't care about me or my family. And so I then took the little bit of research that I had done, which was only the past year and change from before that, and really started focusing on what can I do to take my side business and make it something profitable.
Excellent, excellent. And hopefully you are succeeding. I admire the fact that, you know, something happened in your life and that most people would look at and go, wow, that's really terrible. And you took it, and granted, while it was probably a shock at the time, you have taken it and made something extremely positive out of it. So thank you.
They did me a favor.
So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. All I can say is that they did me a favor.
Well,
rather than spend 70, 75 hours a week away from my kids, busting my hump for somebody that didn't care, I now can spend every day with my kids. And granted, I don't sleep much, but I'm living a much happier life now.
There you go. There you go. You're truly living the American dream.
Yes, sir.
So what has been the thing that you know, when you first started this and you said, okay, I'm going to do this, and, you know, I'm not going to work for anybody else, I'm just going to do this business. What's been the most different thing from what you expected or anticipated?
To be honest with you, I had no idea what the future was holding, and I just kind of took it one step at a time.
Okay.
I took the punches as they came, every little bit of it is a learning process.
So a true leap of faith.
Oh yes, as I said, I was a retail manager, so I know the sales and profit and loss and all that aspect of it. But in order to actually take what I was passionate about and really twist it into a reality, everything about that has really just, as I said, been one step at a time. How do I make this happen next? You can't plan too far into the future because a lot of what you have to do. The market's constantly changing. You have to be able to react.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a set plan in place for the next 6 to 9 months, and something happens, why'd you plan in the first place?
Yeah. So what's next for Catie's for Catie's Bubbles and Chris? I mean, where do you go now? You have a rather large selection. Do you make more flavors? Do you do something different? If you go to your website, catiesbubbles.com. And I'll of course put a link up in the show notes for everybody to see this, but you've got razors up there, you've got brushes up there, you've got, bunches and bunches of shaving soaps. What's next?
Well, a little bit more free time in about a week and a half when the kids go back to school. So I will finally be able to devote some time to getting the bar soap end of things back up to where it should be, because shaving soap has been eating all my free time.
Gotcha.
So I will get that piece of the puzzle in place. I've been doing research on aftershaves for splashes, alcohol, non-alcohol based, for balms and things of that nature. It's just a matter of having the time and the resources to work with.
Excellent. So the bar soap, which is interesting because I have heard people once they find out that they can spend some time, with shaving soaps and enjoy the experience, then usually, somewhere in there they realize that there's, bath soaps as well that you can get that are better than some of the factory made products. And so they have a tendency to jump in that direction as well. So that's absolutely a good avenue.
Well, it's where I got my start. It's what I started making. And it's something that I have some very, very good formulas that I've come up with for. I have not had the time to keep up with it. If you go to my site right now, there's a whopping 1 bar soap up there.
Yep.
It's a darn good one, and the guys that have had a chance to try it will tell you that they love it. But I gotta have some more variety.
Yep, understand. And that one that he's talking about is Karmic Spa, and you need to go to his website and check it out.
It's a unique monster. Not many people have ever used a bar of soap that's impregnated with sea salt.
There you go. I bet that feels good.
Oh, yes, it does. It's a super silky lather, too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, and a little bit of patchouli and orange in there. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yes, sir.
You said, you use other people's products. So who's your favorite, and throw yourself in there, with your own products. But if you were to look at your shave den right now, what's your favorite stuff to use?
On the shelf in my den right now, I want to say there's probably about 40 products. Half of them are mine. Overall, if I have to say what my favorite scent is out of everything that's in there, that's an easy one. It's Euchris.
Okay.
Trumper had a great idea 100 years ago when he came up with that scent, and it is wonderful.
Okay.
I wish they could make a soap that worked in it, but that's a story for another day. My friends' products, it really depends upon the day because there's different options. If I've got a day where I just want to relax and I want a nice simple shave, I've got a jar of Wisdom from Soap Commander. Lavender in there to keep my brain nice and cool. If I want to spice it up a little bit, I've got a jar of Crisp Bay Rum from Soapy Bathman, which also a great soap, and I think it may be one of the only ones I own and enjoy that has lanolin in it. Because I don't know if you've noticed, everything I make is all veggie based. I don't use animal products in my shaving soaps.
Okay. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, the reason that I use all veggie and fruit products is because it gives me a lot more control over what I want to do. Tallow does not provide enough stearic acid for how I want my soaps to perform. Tallow itself, in its fatty acid makeup, is in the mid-20s for stearic acid content. But you look at kokum butter is at 56%. You look at mango butter's at 46%. So both them right there are double or if not more.
So when you test your soaps, what brush, you've said you're a face latherer mainly. What brush are you using?
The first brush I'll reach for any day is a Mule Basic 2 Black Fiber.
Okay.
It is my favorite brush out of everything I own. I've got silver tips. I've got a High Mountain White. I've got the Plasson. I've got a silver tip fiber. I've got a couple bores, and I will reach for that black fiber before I reach for any other brush.
Wow, that's quite a testament. What is it about that brush that drives that decision?
It is, to me, the perfect lather machine. Unfortunately, Mule doesn't make that specific brush anymore. It had a shorter loft than what they're currently putting out in black fiber, so it had a little bit more backbone. But it has the most natural splay of any brush I've ever used. Water retention doesn't happen with the synthetic, so we won't even go there. But in terms of the brush actually splaying out, holding onto the soap, actually mixing the soap and the water together, keeping the air out, it does a phenomenal job.
Okay.
It's soft on the face, yet has the backbone to get it all done.
Excellent. Yeah, I find that for myself, at this point, I'm either reaching for my Plisson or I'm reaching for my 1305. Which is a Samag bore that is broken in just wonderfully. And if I want a little bit more backbone, I'll grab the Samag. If I want something that's just soft and luxurious, I'll grab the Plisson. But I use both of those kind of interchangeably. It's interesting because I've kind of, the Badger brushes just kind of sit on the shelf at this point.
I'll break out the Badger every once in a while because I spent a lot of money on them and I don't want them to sit and collect and go to waste. But if I'm not reaching for the black fiber, if I want to go to a natural hairbrush, I'll normally reach for my Omega Razor and Brush Special Edition.
Gotcha.
It's a monster of a brush. It's a 27 millimeter knot over a 60 millimeter loft.
Wow.
It's huge, but it is soft. It will pick up anything.
Okay, so the bigger brush helps you pull the stuff off the soap puck.
The extra backbone and the split ends on the bore helps me pull the actual soap up off of the harder puck.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Let me ask you this. Just going back to your soaps for a second, why should folks buy your soaps?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
But I mean, if you're sitting here telling folks about your soap, at this point, I can tell you that it's a good soap. It performs well. It lathers like nothing else. I mean, it's a great lathering soap, and the scents are very, very nice. But for somebody who has never tried one of your soaps before, what would you tell them to say, this is why you should consider purchasing my soaps?
If you want my honest opinion, soap itself, it's made with the best ingredients I can get. In terms of performance, the slickness, the cushion, they're there. By how you prepare it, you can actually modify it to your own tastes, whether you want it to be a little bit slicker or a little bit more cushion. So you have flexibility in the soap. You can actually tailor it to yourself. And the performance itself, I've nailed it for myself. Nothing else performs like my soap does to me. But that's because I know how I want to prepare it and I make it work the way I want it to work.
Gotcha. That's interesting. That's the first time that I've ever heard anybody say that you can modify the soap while you're using it to be what you want. And you mentioned that earlier, where you can kind of customize the glide and cushion of the soap while you're preparing it.
Yes. It's all about how much water you add. You keep the soap denser, it'll be a little bit slicker. You water it down a little bit, you get a little bit more cushion. You balance out the slickness and the cushioning.
Excellent. So, okay, here's a question for you, because I get this from time to time with people that I talk to. What's, in the feedback that you've gotten, what's the biggest problem that people have with your soaps and or with soap in general when they're trying to figure out how to use these things?
Most people will do one of two things. They'll either underload or they'll overload.
Okay.
They either don't go in and actually pull enough product at the beginning to work with. Or they saturate the brush so much that they got to dump a gallon of water in there to actually get it to the point where they have a consistent lather.
Gotcha.
From there, if you add too much water, a bit more product. That's something simple. That's something that comes with experience.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of a new shaver, I think most of them actually don't pull enough product.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing that I've run into is that for me the folks that I've talked to that have had problems because they're loading too much product and they're not putting enough water in it. No matter which way they go, they're just not getting enough water into the soap to make a decent lather. It's more like it's sitting there in paste mode and it stays in paste mode, and then they're wondering, well, how come I'm not getting a lather like they show in the pictures for the shave of the days?
Most of those pictures for the shave of the day, I don't see them as being a usable lather. I see them as being over aerated and for show.
Okay.
It's not something I would shave with.
Okay. That's a good comment.
But then again, my taste in lather may be a little bit different than what somebody else enjoys. But then again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm a soap snob.
Absolutely. Just like I'm an audio snob, you know? I mean, that's why you're doing the stuff you're doing and I'm doing the stuff I'm doing.
The more work you have to put into it, or the chance you have to mess something up.
Yeah. And that was, for me, you know, my lathers take right at about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. I mean, it's not, I don't spend a whole lot of time with it, and I'm totaling, you know, I'm loading the brush for about 30 to 40 revolutions, and then I'm throwing it in a bowl, you know, spreading it around the bowl to get an even, kind of an even coating, if you will. And I started doing that when I was doing small samples of fairly hard soaps. You know, I found that if I got stuff distributed, it would actually work better, because otherwise I'd have like chunks of product I'd be chasing around, and then I'll just go ahead right off typically. And if I know that most of the soaps that I've ever used take about 2 teaspoons of water, I'll throw 2 teaspoons of water in there, and then I'll, you know, whip it for, I don't know, probably about 400 to 600 revolutions, and I'm pretty much good to go at that point.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'll load for 15 to 20 seconds, and from there go right to my face, and within 45 seconds to a minute, I'm...
Yeah, so it sounds like we're coming close to about the same thing anyhow. I may have a little bit more water in mind than you do, but I have to play with that.
But then again, I also have a patch that I don't shave every day.
I hear you. Have you ever had anybody complain of sensitivity to some of your soaps, to some of your oils?
Unfortunately, 1 or 2 people with sensitive skin that have had a reaction to LPV, and I had one gentleman that I think it was just bad technique, because one shave he claims it was a reaction, the next shave he had no problem.
Huh, interesting.
But that was a different soap. That was Boucle Fruité.
Yeah, I was testing one soap. I was just playing around with it, and I don't know if it, because I'd also used it with a straight razor, and I don't know if I'm getting the irritation from the straight razor or if I'm getting the irritation from the soap, but it's broken out just one side of my face pretty good. So that one will be, it's unfortunate too, because I really, really like the smell. It was so delicate. You know, it was kind of like there were hints. It was there, but then it wasn't, and it was just that was nice. But it's one of those things. Every now and then, you got to check one. I found that I ended up, for some reason, I don't know why, I got sensitive to sandalwood, and which is unfortunate, because I absolutely adore the sandalwood scents. But if I use them,
it's also unfortunate because sandalwood's in many, many, many different things.
Absolutely, it is. But in the shaving soaps that I was trying, they're not like Parasso Red, I bought some some Art of Shaving Sandalwood, and there was one other, but I ended up, I had a sensitivity to all of them. I haven't used them in probably 6 months because of it. So, maybe something that I can go back to from time to time and I'll be all right. But I was heartbroken.
Yeah, one of the things I found that really is a big trigger for sensitivity when it comes to people are your spices.
Okay.
Which runs into trouble because LPV, right in the heart of it, you've got nutmeg, cinnamon, and clove.
Gotcha.
Something else that you'll find that people will react to a little more often than others is bay.
This was actually lime. Well, we've been going on here for about an hour and 15 minutes. Have we missed anything? Is there anything that you want to add to throw out there to the listening audience?
Every single one of them out there, whether they've used my product or not, I want to say thank them. Thank them for either bringing back an art form in the form of traditional shaving, or the guys that are out there that are supporting me and my family by purchasing our products, enjoying them, and spreading the love. It's greatly appreciated, and thank all of you.
Well, thank you, and honestly, thank you very much for for taking the time to sit down and talk with me for this interview. It is time, and a lot of people, especially people that are trying to run a business, don't have much of it. So I would like to say, honestly, from my heart, thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Rick. Most people don't take the time to spread the love about this wonderful hobby that we have.
Well, that's what we try to do here. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at Brush and Blade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.